Are you disturbed by how bad your observation is? Are you fed up with people making fun of your reflexes? Is that the reason you clicked this video? You want to maybe have a keen I like Sherlock Holmes from the movies, or long-term calculation like Kiyotaka Ayanokoji from Classroom of the Elite, or meta vision like Yoichi Asagi from Blue Lock. Then you're in the right place. I got the right techniques to drastically shoot up your observational skills, given you follow them. So, are you ready to shed your old, saggy self and rise up for a new beginning? To see the world differently? Hop right in, and don't forget to grab a pen and notebook to take notes. Before I actually move to the techniques, let me give you a brief idea about what observation actually is. According to the Oxford Dictionary, observation is the action or process of watching someone or something in order to gain information. Observation skills inform us about the details, things, or phenomena occurring around us using one or more senses. Being able to observe and analyze is important because it also becomes the basis of our communication. This right here is a small diagram which explains how our brain processes information, new or old. When we receive information or stimuli from our surroundings, our five senses act as filters and refine what enters our memory, conscious or subconscious. The filtered information is processed in the brain, and our brain produces the action required, which we call our reflex. By now, you must have understood what actual observation is. It involves interacting with your environment, deliberately noticing details, and using logic and imagination to visualize possible outcomes. First up is niche selection and absorption. You can call this something like the White Room Coat or Team Niche Blue Lock, which made Ayanokoji and Asagi literal monsters. Usually people would say you need a peaceful environment to hone skills. But no, I'd tell you to choose such a niche where there actually is some kind of noise, like your living room, a restaurant, a gym, etc. Where there is enough sound to analyze and observe, but not somewhere like in the middle of traffic or in some boring opera hall where there is too much noise. Make sure to observe even the slightest exertions and changes in your niche while you're actually there. And repeat this until you completely come to know of your niche. You can obviously begin from your own home. If you have a garden or lawn, or there's any public places with little sound nearby, these are ideal places to start. If you don't want to go out, you can also select your bedroom or living room as a niche. This is a pretty straightforward technique. For this, you can choose any reading material. Books, novels, newspapers, articles, anything. But I'd suggest that you start with storybooks, plain books, without much pictures or doodles. Then as you read each sentence, try to imagine the scenario described in your mind. Recreate it, but in 3D. Yes, this is actually important that you try to imagine the scenario in 3D and not 2D. It might be difficult at first, but after a bit of practice, you would be able to easily create scenarios in your mind. When you're good enough, you can slowly start progressing to sci-fi and fantasy books, novels, which require high level of imagination. Why are we doing this? Because alongside observation, analysis can help you overcome your obstacles quickly. How does this technique help in analysis? Let me explain. Sometimes visualizing the obstacle we face in our mind through different perspectives can actually get hints, or even the solution to solve it. This technique can actually increase our cognitive skills, which in turn can help develop the hippocampus and both sides of the brains, which can make us sharper with constant practice. You can call this a brain workout. Well, it's pretty evident from the name, maintaining your sleep cycle can have a drastic effect in skyrocketing your observation and analytical skills. How? About 8–10 hours of sleep can give your body adequate rest, during which the neural and hormonal balance can be maintained. It is mostly during our sleep that our cognitive and neurochemical systems refresh our memory and decide which one is long-term memory and which is short-term. What does memory have to do with observation and analysis? Well, most problems we face have a similar type of pattern, so remembering how to identify the pattern can help us overcome it easily next time. For example, while riding your cycle through a busy road, if you notice a vehicle coming dangerously close to you first time, you may panic and actually rush to the sidewalk or stop your cycle. This gets embedded in your memory, and the next time a similar situation occurs, you feel less tense and can appropriately solve it. Or so I think if you're at least a person of decent ick. Next is sleep bombing. No, this is not the sleep bombing you know from Monster Hunter game series. This is a technique I try when I have exams or important stuff that I cannot afford to forget. How does sleep bombing work? Sleep bombing is basically micro naps where you take a small nap ranging about 2 to 8 minutes. This can actually help if you just input new information to your brain and want it to stay in the long-term memory for some time. This can also help in aiding the brain to tag our newly observed detail into LTM. This might be difficult for you at first with no experience in sleep bombing. The reason it's called bombing is because you do this not once a day, but multiple times in requirement of your information or observation. During your initial tries, you can seek the aid of lullabies or sleeping techniques. If you need a detailed video on sleeping techniques, comment down below. You might have seen this point in many videos of the same genre of self-improvement. May it be growth mindset or manipulation. Yes, that's because journaling can actually establish a deep connection with what you observed, since you actually made the effort in writing this down. Your brain can perceive this as some important information and retains it in the LTM. Initially, I'd recommend that you do this daily, until about you can remember most of your observations in your mind. But you still needn't stop journaling. You may jot in some information that you think should never even slip off your mind, whatever the case. The term manipulation may not be anything unknown to you by now. You all know how powerful manipulation can be in helping you gain control over someone or aiding you in completing your tasks. This is also something similar. But here, both the manipulator and the victim is you yourself. And this isn't a bad thing, because manipulating your own brain to work how you desire is the dream of 95% people. Being able to successfully do that, or at least replicate 10% of that, can actually give you a big boost compared to 95% of people. One of the simplest and quickest techniques to achieve this is meditation. You can practice meditation for about 30 minutes every day. This can help to even drastically boost your focus. I'll make a detailed video on more techniques that can help you manipulate yourself to become better than 95% of people soon. With that being said, now let's move to the two things that you should never do while practicing your observational and analytical skills. If you even commit one of these two mistakes, it can affect your training pretty bad. While you're practicing the above techniques, you should take care that initially, you don't do any of them for more than 10 minutes. This helps you in the primary stages of becoming a god-tier observer and analyst. Once you actually have decent practice, shift the breaking point to about 25–30 minutes. Remember, rest is necessary in grasping any skill. That being said, you can repeat the activity many times a day, with adequate rest in between, of about 30 to 45 minutes initially, and reducing it to 15–20 minutes. This is the most important don't that you should never ever do. What does this mean? When we observe or analyze, we obviously use our vision, right? No, that is the wrong way to do it. When you are observing or analyzing, make sure to incorporate maximum of your sensory organs into it. For example, if you're observing a park, just preparing a visual map of the park in your mind may not be enough. Try to use your hearing ability to mark spots which you think may be useful to you, like listening for sounds of flowing water, chirping of birds, or hustle of children. These can actually help you later on if you don't ignore them. You can use your ability of touch to pinpoint areas that might be dangerous or safe. By that, I've done my job of giving you the essential tips and techniques that can elevate your observational and analytical skills. Now it's up to you to actually act on whatever you've grasped from this video. Don't mind to watch the video again if you couldn't understand a technique mentioned above. Until we meet again, keep improving.